Oh, hi, it's Therese, and today we're speaking about IELTS language of change. And this is important because, of course, in the writing task 1 academic, you have a graph and you need to describe that graph. But what exactly is a graph? Well, it's a presentation of information. It's a comparison of data. It's an explanation of details. And there's movement in a graph. It doesn't stay still. And often you need to describe movement over time or movement between countries. So language of change is really essential. It's part of your lexical resource. So in this video, I'd like to talk about the different words we can use. So for example, in a bar chart, you might see the movement of a product going up or going down. You don't want to use the same words every time. You want to make it interesting. So let's talk about the different synonyms, the different language we can use to boost your lexical resource. So let's get started. So of course you could say it went up, it went down, but it's better to use synonyms each time. You want to show off your lexical resource, to the examiner. So you could say, well, the sales of oranges, it increased or it rose, went up or it decreased, fell, or you could say it leveled off if it remained at the same, or it fluctuated if it went up and down. The sales reached a peak means that it hit a high point, the highest level, it remained stable, or it hit a low point. That means the base level. When you look at the graph, the sales of oranges increased and the sales of apples decreased. Or indeed, you could say the sales of oranges rose or the sales of apples declined. So if you want to change up the vocabulary there and make it more interesting. Using adverbs, very important because you want to describe the movement. Here are some good adverbs to match with the verbs. Increased, decreased with slowly, steadily, meaning gradually, rapidly, quickly, suddenly, unexpectedly, sharply, abruptly. Slightly means a little and significantly means greatly. So the sales of books rose steadily. It means that they rose at a gradual pace, not too fast, but regularly. The purchase of blue pens dropped suddenly. That means that the purchase of blue pens went down very sharply and unexpectedly. The number of students in science increased sharply. That means it went up quite quickly and quite strongly. So again, good words to use, good adverbs to use. Let's apply it to the bar chart. The sales of oranges increased slightly. It wasn't a big jump. And the sales of apples decreased significantly because they did drop very sharply, significantly. And by the way, make sure that you place the adverb after the verb. Another thing to remember, especially for grammar, range, and accuracy, is to use the past form because you'll be describing an event, an action in the past when you describe a graph. So the verb increase becomes increased, just add ed, and decreased becomes decreased, add ed. And of course, be careful of your irregulars. Go up, went up. Rise, rose. Skyrocket is regular, skyrocketed. Jump, jumped, escalate, escalated. Those are regular. And so just be careful again that you're using the correct ed form or the irregular past. Right? So that you get skyrocket is a good word. It means to jump very quickly and strongly. So the value of houses skyrocketed from $20,000 to $120,000 from March to May. And if you want to use an opposite expression, the company's revenue plummeted from $1.5 million to $20,000 from 2018 to 2019. Plummeted means to go down quickly. So it's important to paraphrase because you don't want to use the same words as in the title of the IELTS graph, right? So for example, instead of saying the sales of rose steadily, well, you could say there was a steady rise in book sales. So rose steadily, the verb and adverb now becomes an adjective and a noun. The purchase of blue pens dropped suddenly becomes there was a sudden drop in the purchase of blue pens, and the number of science students increased sharply becomes there was a sharp increase in the number of science students. So again, we're changing the verb adverb form to the adjective noun form with the use of there was. And so it's a nice paraphrase and a good way to change things around so that you're getting better marks for your writing. In writing task 2, as I mentioned earlier, we do apply language of change. So let's take a look at this text and see how we've used language of change. In the past decade, there have been many changes in our way of working. There has been a steady increase in remote work. This essay will explore the causes and solutions of this change. Firstly, the use of the internet has grown significantly in the past 10 years. Because of this increase, more people can work from home or alternative locations. Consequently, remote work has become the norm for many employees. Secondly, there has been continuous development in IT skills among the work population. So in this short text, I've used 4 use of language of change. The adjective steady, the adverb significantly, the nouns increase, and the verbs grown. So try to remember the language of change so that you can use it appropriately in IELTS Writing Task 1 and 2.